So nobody's perfect, even the Army makes mistakes or maybe some things they regret. And I'm going to talk about some things that I feel the Army possibly regrets, maybe some mistakes they made, because for the most part, the things I'm about to mention, they don't exist anymore in the Army. They're things that they tried, they did, and it didn't work out. So obviously, I have to chalk that up as a mistake. So what are some of those mistakes? Well, I've got 3 of them that we're going to cover. Now make sure you're subscribed to the channel, that way you can continue getting this type of content. Also click on that bell so you can join the notification platoon and be notified when new videos come out. So let's talk about the first one of the 3 that I want to mention. The first one being the black beret. There was a point in the Army where they switched from the soft cap to the black beret. This happened in 2001. I was in the Army during that time frame. I remember the big spiel about it, the big deal about us all switching over to the black beret. And the problem also kind of arises that there was already soldiers utilizing the black beret at that time. At that time, the Rangers were currently using the black beret. If you were a part of the 75th Ranger Regiment, you wore black berets. Well, now they were changing it to make it to where all of the Army was going to the black beret, as long as you weren't part of like airborne or special forces, everybody else was going to be wearing the black beret. So that did result in the Rangers switching to the tan beret, and then all the other soldiers switching to now the black beret. All sorts of problems arose when we switched to that beret. We couldn't get new berets from clothing sales. You got issued one, and if you lost it, you couldn't just go back to the soft cap. We, at least my unit, had to go to your Kevlar. You had to wear your helmet until you can get a new beret. So it was very difficult to get a new beret since clothing sales didn't have any. At least not in the beginning anyways, because when the Army first kind of did this, I think the first batch of berets were like made in China or overseas somewhere, and the Army didn't like that. So those berets ended up getting like sold off to some surplus stores or something. And if you needed a new beret, that's probably where you had to go since clothing sales didn't have any berets. The other problem too was most of us didn't even know how to wear it correctly. So most of us were walking around like Chef Boyardee. We didn't really realize that you have to shave them, or even you don't know how to actually shave it properly. So people were walking around with jacked berets for a while until we kind of figured it out and got a little bit better educated on how you're supposed to wear the beret. There was some instances where you didn't have to wear the beret. So like I had a unit when I was in Korea, because we were so close to the North Korean border, we were allowed to wear soft cap. But if we went over the bridge to the other like duty stations, the other camps or whatever in Korea, then we had to switch back to the beret. There was also a time frame that we didn't have to wear the beret when we were wearing the desert uniform. So when I was deploying to like Iraq the first time, we did not have to wear the beret in the DCU uniform. But then when we did switch over to the digital pattern, then it was back to wearing the beret. Even though I deployed my second time wearing the digital pattern, we wore berets when we were not over in Iraq or Afghanistan or something. The other pain in the ass with the beret was if you were carrying stuff. It was not very easy to really put it on with one hand. Eventually, sometimes you got pretty good at it, maybe decent at it kind of a thing, but for the most part, it was a challenge to try to put it on one hand. If you had stuff in your arms, you usually had to put stuff down, put the beret on, get it all nice and neat, and then pick the stuff up. So there was a lot of challenges with the beret, and ultimately, it did eventually end in 2011 when they went back to having the soft cap, but they did keep the beret for the Army service uniform, the dress uniform, which is good because the previous headgear we were wearing before we used the black beret for the Army service uniform was horrible. I hated that headgear. So it is good for the Army service uniform, not very good for just your everyday kind of walking around in garrison type of thing for every soldier. It's good for, standing out for like, special forces, for Rangers, airborne units, SFAB, that kind of stuff, cool. But not everybody needs to have a beret. Now, you might have been eyeballing the Stay Frosty t-shirt here, provided to me by Grunt Style, and if you would like to get one of your own, I actually have an affiliate link down in the description box down below, and best of all, if it's your first time ordering from Grunt Style, you can utilize the promo code Chaos Army, and you can get 25% off your first order. That can be multiple shirts, that can be a single shirt, whatever it is, you can save 25% by using the promo code Chaos Army. It doesn't matter if you're an Army veteran, if you're a grunt, if you're a pogue, if you're just a civilian that likes cheeky shirts, it's cool. Everybody wears them. So it doesn't matter, who you are, pick up a Grunt Style shirt, they're awesome. Now, another one that didn't last very long is the slogan that the Army was using for a little bit of time that was known as Army of One. Now, a lot of people know like the old school, slogan of be all you can be. That one actually lasted a long time. That lasted from 1980 all the way until 2001. That was the slogan when I joined the Army, so that was the one I always knew. I still kind of like that slogan. That was a pretty good slogan, but eventually they did end up changing it in 2001. It only lasted for 5 years, but the new slogan being Army of One didn't really kind of, I don't think accomplished what they were looking to accomplish. I know a lot of us in the Army, we kind of took it as, I'm an Army of One, so, I do my own thing. I do whatever I want to do because I'm an Army of One. That was not what their goal was, and that's also the reason why it led to them getting rid of it. But it was supposed to be like one team, one fight type of thing, Army of One. So we are all one voice, one army, all that kind of thing. But it didn't really get conveyed in that way. It more got conveyed as not being a team member, of being an individual, being an Army of One. So they did eventually get rid of it because of that reason, because they didn't feel like it was really properly conveying teamwork and one team, one fight kind of thing that they were trying for. So the Army of One slogan only lasted from 2001 to 2006. 5 years, that's all it was, and it was gone. What they ended up replacing it with probably wasn't much better. That was Army Strong, and it sounds like something that the Hulk would say, someone that can't put together a full sentence. Army Strong. That one did last for a while, though. It lasted all the way up until 2018, so it did last longer than the Army of One, but eventually they did end up getting rid of that one as well. With the Army Strong one, that was supposed to be like, there's strong and then there's Army Strong, right? And in order to convey that, they actually had to use that in some commercials. Otherwise, it really doesn't come off that way, but that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like, there's different levels of being strong, right? You're strong, right? You're just regular strong, and then you're Army Strong, right? So there's different levels of being strong. So Army Strong is supposed to be the higher one. But ultimately, that one ended up getting replaced with a different slogan in 2018. So 2018, it was changed to Warriors Wanted, and that one only went from 2018 to 2019, but it didn't really change. They classified as updating it. What it was updated to was What's Your Warrior, so it's kind of still along the same lines, and that's currently what the Army's using right now. If you could actually pick what the new Army slogan would be, what would you pick? I'm sure there's gonna be some fun ones, and that's fine, that's cool too, but if you have a serious one, a fun one, whatever, comment down below. I want to hear what you think a good Army slogan could be for recruiting purposes, because that's really what these are for, I guess. Now, the last one here that I'll talk about that was basically something that failed, regretted, mistakes, whatever, and that was when the Army decided that they were going to drop the requirement for a high school diploma or a GED. This was very short-lived. They announced it, they were going to drop the requirement temporarily for select individuals that could at least score a 50 on the ASVAB, then did not have a high school diploma or GED, then they would still allow those people to join for a short period of time or a temporary type of thing, because the Army was really hurting on numbers currently as well. But that only lasted for a week. It was the very next week, they were like, nope, never mind. Probably because they were getting a lot of backlash from civilians, from veterans, from probably other Army soldiers as well, maybe even higher, lower, whatever. And they decided this is a horrible idea, this is dumb, never mind, that was a bad idea. So that obviously did not stick. I remember even getting messages from people who were interested in that. They're like, cool, we don't have to have a high school diploma or GED, but we still have to score a 50 on the ASVAB. Do you think they'll waive that? I was like, holy crap, come on now. They're giving you all this leniency to where you don't have to have a high school diploma, GED. Now you also don't want to have to get at least a 50 on the ASVAB? I mean, come on, we gotta have some kind of standards here. So thankfully they did get rid of it. Now there are still ways you can actually join the Army if you don't have a high school diploma or GED. This is a very, very small percentage of people that they actually accept with this. There are waivers they can do, but it's a very, very small amount of people that they grant waivers for that kind of condition. There's also like a program in the National Guard that allows you to join the National Guard, and they'll pay to help you get your GED, but there are still requirements with that. Like you have to at least be the age of 18, you have to have at least completed all the way up to the 9th grade. You have to complete the 9th grade actually. So if you dropped out of high school, before even completing the 9th grade, then you're not gonna qualify for it. Or if you just completed the 9th grade and maybe you turned 17 or whatever the case was and you're trying to join at 17, that's also not part of it. But there's a lot of other stipulations. Probably check with a recruiter. If you were in that kind of boat and you were trying to join the Army, but you don't have a high school diploma or GED, talk with an Army recruiter, see what you can work out. Like I said, they do still sort of allow that. It's just extremely hard to get that kind of a thing because it's a very, very, very small number of people that they allow to be able to join the Army in that kind of fashion. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of other mistakes that the Army's made, things that they have done that didn't last very long and they nixed it and got rid of it and changed it or whatever the kind of thing it was. For my veteran viewers out there, maybe even people currently in the Army, if you can think of some other things that you feel like maybe it was a mistake the Army made, that was a dumb idea, didn't last very long before they replaced it with something else, whatever, drop your comments down in the comment section down below because I'd love to hear about other things that maybe I didn't mention in this video. Now, the United States Army is not the only one making mistakes around here. Sometimes young soldiers don't know any better, so they make mistakes. And I actually have a video talking about 5 different mistakes that young soldiers make pretty commonly. So check that video out right here. Check out the links down in the description box down below. Grunt Style, save 25% off. Follow me on Instagram, join the Discord channel. Check out all the other stuff that's available down there. Thanks for watching. I'm Christopher Chaos, and I'll see you next time. See ya.